Good morning, students of grade 10. Today we'll continue the energy lesson from where we left in the previous day. Yes, yesterday we discussed about fossil fuel, and the day before that we discussed about solar energy. These two are the major sources of energy, but we also discussed that fossil fuels are non-renewable sources of energy, so we must decrease or we must reduce our dependence on fossil fuel. And to reduce our dependence on fossil fuel, we must develop other sources of energy, and these sources of energy which are used to reduce our dependence on fossil fuel, they are called alternate sources of energy. Okay. So alternate sources of energy, they can be defined as those renewable. Definitely, if we are using the source of energy instead of fossil fuel, why are you trying to replace fossil fuel? It is because fossil fuel is non-renewable source of energy. So it only makes sense that instead of fossil fuel, we use another source of energy which is renewable. Okay, those renewable sources of energy that can be used as an alternative to the fossil fuels. Now, there are several different forms of sources of energy which can be used as an alternate source of energy. Alternative sources of energy. Some of them are, first of all, hydroelectricity. Most relevant in context of our country, Nepal, hydroelectricity. And then after, there is wind energy. And then we all know that biomass and biogas. And other forms of energy which is not so much not so much in application in Nepal, geothermal energy. And then after, tidal energy. And nuclear energy. Nuclear energy is also not so much developed in Nepal. Okay, we are going to discuss about these forms of energy in very brief or in very short. Okay, first of all, let's go over hydroelectricity. Here you can see the word hydro means water, and electricity means it is a form of energy which is possessed due to flow of electrons. Okay, flow of electrons. Now, what do you mean by hydroelectricity? The electricity which is produced by using the energy possessed by water is called hydroelectricity. Okay, so you can define it that the electrical energy which is produced by harvesting mechanical energy possessed by flowing water or water stored in dam. Okay, is called hydroelectricity. It is quite simple. The electrical energy which is produced by harvesting mechanical energy possessed by flowing water or water stored in dam is called hydroelectricity. Flowing water has kinetic energy and water stored in dam has potential energy, and it can be harvested to produce electrical energy. How is it done? Let's see. Okay, pay attention to the diagram here. I'm going to draw something. I guess we have discussed about it in our previous class also. This is a dam to produce hydroelectricity. A dam is constructed in the way of flowing river. A dam is constructed in the way of flowing river so that the water flown through the river, they accumulate in a pond-like structure which is called reservoir. Water flowing through river, they accumulate in a pond-like structure, and this structure is called reservoir. And dam is usually constructed in high altitude, whereas in low altitude or lower altitude place, a powerhouse is constructed. And powerhouse, they keep a generator. Okay, a generator, and that generator contains a shaft, and the shaft is connected to turbine. The shaft is connected to turbine. Okay, and from the bottom of the dam, a pipeline or a channel is created, and that channel, that channel runs through the turbine. The channel runs through the turbine. Then when the channel is opened, what happens? The water from reservoir, they flow into the channel. This is also called penstock. The water flows through the channel, and that flowing water rotates a turbine. Then the turbine operates a generator, and its generator produces electricity, and the water flows through the channel outward into the outlet. That usually is mixed into river. Okay, so what you can see here, when water is stored in reservoir, water stored in reservoir contains potential energy. And when water starts to flow through the channel, then the water flowing in channel, it contains kinetic energy. So what is happening here is the potential energy contained in water of reservoir is converted to kinetic energy, and that kinetic energy rotates a turbine operates a generator, and it finally produces electrical energy. So the energy transformation is happening. Okay, sorry for the technical interruption. So energy transmission is happening here, like potential energy into kinetic energy into electrical energy. Okay, in context of Nepal, hydroelectricity is considered as the best alternative source of energy. Hydroelectricity considered the best alternative source of energy. And can you give me some reasons for this? Okay, you all already know some of the facts that Nepal is the second richest country. Nepal is the second richest country in water resources. That means obviously in terms of amount of water, Nepal is not rich country, but Nepal has several rivers which are flowing in high altitude. Nepal has mountains and glaciers from which rivers originate. Okay, and since they are at high altitude, just as we discussed, it is a dam is preferable to be constructed at high altitude so that water contains maximum amount of potential energy. Okay, that's why in Nepal most of the rivers are flowing in high altitude. This is one of the advantages. Okay, next one is it is renewable source of energy. Renewable source of energy means it can be regenerated over short period of time. Once again, come back to this figure. the water level keeps on decreasing while we generate electricity. At some point, the water dries out in the dam and no more electricity can be generated. The dam dries up, or the hydropower station dies up. But what happens in the next season, or you can say rainy season in next year, when rainfall occurs, the dam is recharged, water is refilled in the dam, and we can generate electricity. In this way, uh, hydroelectric power plant, the dam of hydroelectric power plant can be recharged within a year. That's why it is considered as renewable source of energy. And next one is compared to other sources, it is cheapest source of energy. Again, present context, since fossil fuel is already depleting, its price is rising every day, okay, because of lower availability. That's why petroleum and coal are getting expensive every day. It has become expensive every day. In several years ago, when we were just kid, we remember that per liter of petrol cost only 10 or 11 rupees, but nowadays it is around 100 rupees. So its cost is rising, and moreover, we need to buy petrol for every time. Okay, once you buy, okay, one time importing of petrol is not going to run for infinite time. Yes, we need to pay constantly for petroleum, but for hydroelectricity we need to invest only one time to install a system and to construct dam. We need to invest only one time, but once the investment is completed, once the production starts, we do not need to input any amount of cost. That is, one time cost will provide us electricity for free for several years, at least 20 years, let's say. So in terms of long-term economy, hydroelectricity is the cheapest source of energy. And another reason is definitely it is the cleanest source of energy. That means it does not cause any types of pollution. Okay, these are the reasons why hydroelectricity is considered as the best alternative sources of energy. Despite of these advantages, there are very limited amount of hydroelectric power plants have been constructed in Nepal. That means challenges or restrictions of hydropower. What challenges lie there to construct hydroelectric power plant? The first one being geological difficulties, and another one is high investment needed for installation, and then after technical expert is needed to install, operate and repair. And large amount of forest needs to be cleared, and then after, in some cases, villages or towns must be relocated, which is very costly. Okay, these are some reasons or some challenges faced by hydroelectric power plant construction. First of all, there is geological difficulties, and Nepal has highly rough and rugged terrain, due to which construction activities and transport of constructing materials is very difficult. And second one is high investment is needed for installation. For it all, one-time installation is required, but the parts of hydroelectric power plant are very expensive, like the generators, turbines, okay, and the construction materials themselves are very expensive. So it requires very high amount of investment, which the government alone may not be able to gather up. And another is technical expertise needed to install, operate, and repair. Currently, Nepal does not have hydroelectric engineer. Nepal doesn't have such manpower called hydroelectric engineer. In future, maybe we will have those kind of manpower, but right now, Nepal needs to import such manpower from foreign. Okay, Nepal need to employ foreigners in such position. Large amount of forest needs to be cleared, and we know that once hydroelectric power plant is installed, let's say this is a hill, and between the hill the river flows here. Okay, now if we construct dam up to this height, then we know that the river of water will rise up to this height. That means up to this height all the forest must be cleared. There are several forests which several square kilometer of forest which might have been drowned due to hydroelectric power plant, and this forest must be cut down. So this is another challenge in construction of hydroelectric power plant: deforestation. And in such area, in such a drowning area, if there are any settlements, then the settlements must also be relocated. And relocation of village and town, it is very costly process. Okay, let's go to another form of energy, wind energy. Now we don't need to go in detail. Let's just discuss about how energy is harvested from wind. It is very simple. You might have seen large towers with a turbine, very large blade, turbine with very large blade. And if you notice at the back of that turbine, you see somewhat this type of structure. Okay, and let me tell you, this structure is actually a generator. This is actually a generator, and this is a turbine. Okay, and when the wind blows, the wind rotates the turbine. Okay, and that turbine rotates the shaft, and the rotating shaft operates the generator, and generator produces electrical energy. Okay, this is how wind energy is harvested. So the wind contains kinetic energy, and this kinetic energy can easily be transformed into electrical energy by using windmill. It's also called windmill. Yes. Okay, now the limitation of wind energy is in every place of earth, wind with sufficient velocity or sufficient energy does not blow. Like this plant may be suitable in high altitude Manang and Mustang district where high speed wind blows, but it may not be suitable to be installed in Kathmandu or other places. Okay, so this is a serious limitation of wind energy. And next one we have biomass. How do you define biomass? Every energy rich materials obtained from living beings that can be used to generate heat or electrical energy. So whatever substance we obtain from living beings are basically biomass. Bio means living being, mass means matter. And these biomass or these matters obtained from living being, they can be used either to generate heat by heating them, or by burning them, or to generate electric energy. Okay, let me give an example of biogas plant. In biogas plant, what they do, cow dung and other decomposable materials are placed in a well, okay, and water is also mixed. Here you mixed water and other parts in the ratio of 3:1. 3 parts of water and 1 part of decomposable waste. Water is to waste. Okay, in this proportion, the materials are mixed. Okay, and then fan-like stirrer is used. Stirrer is used to mix it properly. Once it is mixed by a channel, it is passed through underground dome. This is underground dome. And in this underground dome, anaerobic condition is maintained. You know what is anaerobic condition means? Okay, we have discussed it previously. Anaerobic means no oxygen, absence of oxygen. Okay, anaerobic condition is maintained. When this slurry is passed into the dome, it remains here for around a month, up to a month. Then it contains, this dome particularly contains methanogenic bacteria. These are special group of bacteria which are called methanogenic bacteria. These are special group of bacteria which produce methane gas after the respiration process. Just like we utilize sugar and produce carbon dioxide, these bacteria utilize sugar and produce methane. Methane means CH4 gas. Okay, and we know CH4 is combustible gas, and as they produce methane gas, the methane is released and stored in this dome. Okay, from here gas is passed to another chamber where it can be stored. Okay, this is gas storage chamber. Then this gas can either be used directly to burn fire to operate the stove, or it can be used to heat up water, and the steam of which is utilized to generate electricity. Okay, this overall plant is called biogas plant. Now, in case of Nepal, the government of Nepal encourages farmers to establish biogas plant in their farming areas. Now, there are several reasons for this. And first reason is the raw materials used for this process are readily available as agricultural waste. And you know, Nepal is agricultural country, means most of the people here farm. Okay, so they have one or more cattle or livestock in their farm which produce enough amount of biodung, and other agricultural wastes can also be used as raw material to produce biogas in this plant. And that is and moreover, the availability of biogas to cook food in home means the women don't have to venture the forest to gather firewood. It saves their time, and also it reduces their risk of being attacked by wild animals. In this way, they can devote that time in other construction works or income generating works, or even in their education. So biogas plant is actually a boon for village women. Okay? That is why the government provides soft loan to install biogas plant to the farmers, and in some cases banks also help the farmers to establish biogas plant. Okay, next one is geothermal energy. What do you mean by geo? Geo means, it's not the geo of Hindi, okay? It's geo of English. In Hindi, geo means live, but in English, geo means earth, and thermal means heat. So the word suggests that the heat of the earth is utilized. If heat of the earth is utilized, then that is geothermal energy. And we know that although earth is cool from outside, in core it is very hot. We don't need to reach the core. If we dig just a few meters, let's say 10 to 20 meters down, then the earth starts to become very hot. If we can use that energy, that heat energy, then it is known as geothermal energy. Now, how is this harvested? Let's see a diagram once again. Suppose this is a vent. Okay, this is a vent which used to be a volcano. This is volcanic vent, and this is the chamber where there used to be magma. But since this volcano is already dead, there is no magma, but still this place is still hot. Okay, this place is still hot. What we can do is we can pass water through this vent. We can pass water through this vent, and as water reaches the chamber, it heats up and evaporates. It's become vapor. That vapor can be channeled through another pipe, and at the opening of that pipe we can place turbine. Okay, and that high speed or high pressure vapor or steam will rotate the turbine. Turbine will rotate the shaft, and the shaft will operate the generator. So the generator produces electricity. Quite simple, isn't it? Now geothermal energy can be utilized in the places where there are dead volcanoes, particularly the places where there are dead volcanoes or earthquake prone region. In earthquake prone region also, REGION. Okay, in earthquake prone region, these two are the places with high potential of geothermal energy, because in such places temperature rises by 80 degrees Celsius per kilometer, and on the surface temperature may be of 20 degrees Celsius. Then if we dig up to 1 kilometer, the temperature might rise as high as 100 degrees Celsius. So if we deep up to 1.5 kilometer, then the temperature will be sufficient to instantly vaporize the water, and produce steam, which can be utilized to generate electricity. Now the major disadvantage of geothermal energy is this method is not feasible in all places of earth. Okay, and moreover, suspect is that it might even trigger the tectonic plate activities, leading to major natural disasters. The next one is tidal energy. Okay, tidal energy. What do you mean by tide? Let's say this is ocean floor. Yes, this is ocean floor, and normally ocean level rise comes up to here. If you put a measuring stick over here, what you notice that every day water level rises. Okay, water level keeps on rising. Okay, every day it keeps on rising until full moon. At full moon, water level comes to maximum point. Okay, that this is termed as high tide. And as full moon passes, again water level decreases. Every day it decreases, and at some point it reaches the minimum height. Okay, and that is called low tide. This is continuous process, and this process, the generation of tide, it occurs due to gravitational force of moon and sun. Sun and moon exert gravitational force on earth, and that effect is not very much seen on land, but it is seen on water. As the effect of gravitational force of sun and moon on earth, tide rises and falls. When it rises to the maximum point, it is called high tide, and when it falls to the minimum point, it is called low tide. Now what is done to generate harvest tidal energy? What we do, we construct a dam somewhere in the coastal area. Suppose this is the default water level. Then at this level, what we do, we place a channel, and in that channel we place a turbine. Okay, and that turbine is fitted with a generator. This is dam, tidal dam, and tidal dam is actually very large in structure. Okay, you can search it in Google. And during high tide, what happens, as the ocean level rises, water flows through this channel into the reservoir. Okay, and in that process the flowing water will rotate the turbine and generates electricity. And during low tide, what happens, water flows from reservoir out to the ocean. In that process also it rotates the turbine, and it also generates electricity. Or alternately, what we can do, we can close the channel Okay, but maybe that might be impossible due to the tremendous pressure applied by ocean water. Okay, in that case, what you can do, once the high tide is completed or once the reservoir is completely filled, we can close the channel. Okay, and then when low tide occurs, when water level falls to minimum level, only then we can open the channel to allowing water to flow through the channel at very high speed to generate higher amount of electricity at once. That is another option. Anyway, tidal energy is also renewable source of energy because there will be tide until and unless there is sun and moon. Okay, until and unless there is sun and moon in the sky, there will be tide, and as tide rises or fall, water keeps on flowing through the channel and electricity is continuously being generated. Okay, so tidal energy is beneficial for those nations which have their own coastline, but it is not very much useful for nations like Nepal which do not have their ocean. Okay, now the last one is nuclear energy. So we will discuss in detail about nuclear energy in our next class. For today, this much. Thank you, class.